Hello and welcome to our Week 2 lecture. So over the next couple weeks we're going to be talking about how to integrate sources into our writing. So first we're going to talk about quoting and paraphrasing sources. So we'll just start there, but each week we'll be talking about different ways to integrate your sources into your writing. So first let's look at some definitions so we understand the difference between the three. So first, quoting would be if you use the exact words of the source and you would put it in quotation marks. So this would mean you wouldn't make any changes at all. You would just use the direct wording and then put it in quotation marks. Paraphrasing, you would explain a source's ideas but using your own words. So you would change it enough that it would be in your own words and you wouldn't be accused of plagiarizing the source. And then finally, summarizing is also in your own words, but this is when you would take a longer source and condense it into the main points. So for example, you might read an article that is maybe a page long and you would condense it into one short paragraph, again in your own words. So why would we use a quotation? Really, we want to avoid using direct quotations in our papers, so we don't want to use them very often. But there are some times when it is best to use a direct quote. So maybe something is so perfectly said that you can't think of any way to say it better. Then go ahead and use a quote. Maybe you have an important eyewitness account or a personal story and you don't want to change it too much. You want to let the person tell their own story. Or you want to make sure that you don't change the meaning of it. Again, it would be okay to use a quotation. And finally, maybe you're writing a research paper or an argument essay, and you want to use a direct quote from someone that's maybe an authority on a topic in their field, and you want to use that to increase your credibility. So that would also be a great time to use a direct quote. Maybe you're quoting a scientific study or statistics from a study. So sometimes it is good to use a direct quote. However, it is better to paraphrase. A common problem in student essays is that students quote too frequently and even quote unnecessarily. Most of the times it's best to paraphrase. So when in doubt, paraphrase instead of using a direct quote. Most of your essay should be your own writing in your own writing style. So try to paraphrase as often as possible. Why use paraphrase? So first, it improves the readability of your writing. Your writing should be in your writing style. If you keep adding direct quotes into your essay, it becomes difficult to read because all of your direct quotes are in other people's writing style. So as a reader, you kind of stop and you have to, it feels like you're jolted because it isn't just consistently in your writing style. So it helps you keep control of your writing when you try to use your own words and your own style as often as possible throughout the essay. Whenever we use a source, if we use a direct quote, if we paraphrase, if we summarize, no matter how we incorporate the source into the essay, we must frame the source. You want to avoid dropped quotations, and that means you just stick a quote in your essay, no explanation, no introduction. You don't ever want to do that. So all of your sources must be integrated or introduced into your essay. And that's where you can use something called the source sandwich. That'll help you remember to do this each time you use a source. So first, you want to introduce the source. So here I have an example. According to English instructor Catherine Zlatopolsky, 2020, so you always want to put the date there in parentheses, and we'll learn about that later. Then add your source, incorporate it there. So I have a direct quote here. So I put, for example, quotations can enhance your credibility, and I put the page number. That shows that that is a direct quote because it's in quotation marks. And then you want to end by explaining your quote. You never want to leave your reader guessing why you used a source in the middle of your paragraph or in the middle of your essay. You always want to finish by explaining your source. So here, for example, I just put Zlatopolsky means that using quotations can prove the reliability of the source being used and in turn can increase your own credibility. So anytime you add a source, and like I said, if it's a direct quote, a summary, or a paraphrase, you always want to use the source sandwich. And then here, I have some steps that'll help you to paraphrase effectively. So this will help you take a source and change it enough to paraphrase it into your own words. So step 1, you can go through, take the source, and change the content words of the original quote. So you can change the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, and adverbs. And then step 2, you can change the order of the information presented in the original quote. So let's look at an example. So the original quote here, according to Bob 2019, Jerry visited New York City first, then he went to LA during his trip over the winter break. So now I'm going to paraphrase that. So let's look at the part in green. So instead, we paraphrased it to say, Jerry's winter break trip included both New York City and LA. So we went ahead and we changed the wording a little, and then we also changed the order that we presented the ideas in the sentence. So that would be a successful paraphrase. So whenever you are quoting or paraphrasing, again, you want to do how he did here, and we have according to Bob. So that didn't change. So the direct quote and the paraphrase, you still, even if you're paraphrasing, it's very important. You want to introduce the source into your essay. So you want to name the author and then put the date there. All right, so that is all for our 2 lecture. So you can go ahead and click on and take the reading quiz for the week. And then also there is a source activity for the week, and that will also be going over paraphrase and summary. And when you do that one, make sure you have the CAR article in front of you. So just reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you all have a great week.